In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make a factory shelf, and will take around 30 minutes to make. I'll guide you step by step making this shelf in detail, and there is an additional 5 minutes where we're making a small scene. So let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to this tutorial on how to make a shelf for a factory. A couple of weeks ago, I released the free factory course where I use these shelves as an asset. So we're not modeling these in the course. So I thought making a separated tutorial is a good idea, so I can learn you how to do this in detail and you can do it yourself. So you learn some cool modeling techniques that you can use also on other models as well. So let's get started. So when I made this shelf, I went to a factory and made some reference photos. And before we start, I'd like to take a look at it. And then we have a kind of an idea where we're working on. So this is my reference folder. And you can see all kinds of, I'll make this a bit bigger, all kinds of images from a shelf. It's a very rusty one, but it shows like the rough outline, how it looks. It had these holes in it. And this is an overview of the shelf. So what we will construct is mainly this main beam and the side beams. And there is this little side part with a lot of details. And I made a separated sort of blueprint of it. You can use for the modeling process, but that's mainly it. So let's jump to Blender. I have these reference images that will help us in the modeling process. And we're going to import these in Blender. So fresh Blender, let's get started. Just checking if the recording is on. I think it is. And I like to go to the front view, pressing 1 and delete the cube. I also like to add a new collection in the outliner, calling this Blueprint and shelf model. Will help us in organizing. Organizing is very important when working on your models. So here we go. So we go to add, and we have to go to, again, add image texture, a reference, and I go to my blueprint. I got 2 of them, starting with the total one, and it has a measurement for the tallest beam. So I like to now, let's do this in the model, add mesh cube, make a cube, and let's make it smaller. It's just to be sure it's small, and make this a size of 5 in length. And now we're going to scale this reference a little. I'm sorry, I got a dry throat. Going to scale this a bit more, so it needs to match this sort of rectangle shape. This looks good. So now we can get rid of it and move this a little bit more to the right. So far, so good. I like to import another image for the details. Image reference, that one. We're putting this to the left. So let's focus. I want to start with this tall beam with all the kind of holes. So if we take a look at this smaller detail, we can see this object like it's cut to half, and you can see straight to it. I like to start with this model. Select shelf model, add mesh. We add a cube. We're starting with this one, and it's very important that we hit Control G and Control, so it's snapping on the grid. And I like to make it a little bit smaller. I also want to just make this a bit more transparent. Back to the cube. S, Control, and make this a size of 0.2, just snapping this. So what are we going to do? So I like to model this and using a mirror modifier. So first I'm going to put the cube on top of the origin. Then I will snap with 4 extra grids, adding an edge line, moving this one on top. Extruding this 1, 2, 3, 4 on the grid, adding another edge line, Control R, and the bottom pressing extrude E, and that's it. Looks kind of weird, but as soon as we're using a modifier, mirror modifier, there you go. Not on the X, on the Y, on the Z. Yeah, that's it. we have what we want, and we can apply as soon as we're ready. So first I like to find the center and try to align it with the thickness. I think this will work. So now, I'm going to select the top part, moving on top. I can see we still need to measure this a little bit more, but I think this will work. I'm pretty sure. Moving this to the left and this one to the bottom. And as you can see, we can see some curviness. I'm going to add this in a second. All right, so far so good. We are done with this object for the mirror. We don't need it anymore. So we click apply and then it's gone. So going to the front view, and the problem is that there is a face over here, so we need to just delete it. And then we're going to rotate this 90 degree. We'll go to the top view, rotate this another 90 degree. You're still following me? And we're moving this to the right. So we have view on the reference. I'm making this a bit smaller, SZ. So the first thing is same for, by the way, the other one. The transparent or the opacity needs to be a little bit more downward. So we have view on both objects. I first like to match the thickness, something like that. Then I'll do Control A, rotation and scale, and change the Z to 5. And then we have exactly 5 meters, what we should have. All right, that's perfect. So next is we're going to cut some holes in this beam. But before we do that, I like to start with a small bevel, because when we zoom in and we take a look, it looks very sharp edges, and we don't want that. So we click on this beam and press 2. So we are in the edge selection mode, and left click, Shift Alt left click on all these sides. Here we go. And before we enter this, Control A, rotation and scale, so everything is set to 1. And we press, zooming in, Control scroll wheel, you can zoom in, Control B. And scroll wheel, we have a little bit more detail, something like this. That's fine. Then we select these two and the other two as well. And zooming in, Control B, just a little bit. Not too much, not too little, just perfect. All right, so we have the beam, and now we can work on these little holes. So we go to shelf, add mesh cube, and we drag this to the side. We're not working on grids this time. We just want to create this little hole cutter. We're just trying to find the shape. Go to the vertex selection mode. You select the bottom vertices as X, and you align them to each other. Yeah, Control A, rotation and scale, and origin to geometry. We're moving this to the right. We're scaling this like so. Perfect. A little bit smaller. And now we need to GY, SY, GY, merge this inside. Wireframe, okay, it's in the middle, that's fine. Okay, so at this point I like to add an array, generate array, and we switching from the X, make that the 0 to the Z. Okay, and I want to have a total of 95 of these hole cutters. So, and now we do manually scroll this up, so we are at the top. So you can see the top is a little bit mismatching. That's fine. We're just doing this manually. Just wondering how that's on the bottom. That's just looking fine. So we click on the hole cutter, the metal cutter, or whatever you want to call that. Trying to align this. I mean, this is good. This is fine. And yeah, we're ready for it. So check the scale. That's fine. That's not. Rotation and scale. And now we're ready to cut a hole. All right, let's do this. We click on generate Boolean. Let's call this hole. Yeah, shift left click on the metal beam. Just call this beam then. Okay, so hole, shift left click on the metal beam and generate boolean. You select hole on the object and you click apply. And you click on the holes, delete, and you have these nice little holes. Does it look better, right? Perfect. So before we move on to the next part, I like to add a material. So how I will do that, I'm using the C3DE add-on. That's my add-on to create environments, currently including the factory and working on the office, but it includes all preset materials. So that's really nice. And you can do this both in two ways. You can simply select door blue because that's the material we're working on. But I like to do this in the asset browser. So we go to shading and just go to the assets browser, we go to the material library, and then it's simply drag and drop, and there we go. Cool. Go back to the shading. Here we go. This material needs a UV unwrap, so press U. We do the cube projection. So now we have a UV map. We switch to the UV editing tab. And it's starting with a normal. That's nice, but we're not needing it. So you have these two border lines. I like that. I'm trying to align this as good as we can. Let's zoom in a little bit. Material. Okay. So there's a problem with the cube projection. Well, at this point, it aligns pretty well, but we have this duplication. So what I normally do to get avoid of this, I'm trying to select one of these parts, Control L and G, yeah, and just move it downwards. So this way you avoid that. Maybe with this part as well. Okay, not really, but this way you get rid of the duplications, and that's nice. So we're finished. We're just checking this very quickly. Yeah, looks nice. No artifacts, no artifacts. That's nice because then we can move on to the next part. We go to the top view and we rotate this 90 degrees, doing this in the snapping mode. So it's 90 degrees. Go to the modeling tab so we have more space. I like space. GX. Move this to this position, and instead of Shift D rotating, you can do this. You can also use a mirror modifier, whatever works for you. I'm not doing it this way because I like to use multiple ways of working with Blender. But yeah, using the mirror is fine as well. All right, let's focus. I like to create these reinforcements beams. They're very simple, but yet we have to model them. Add mesh cube. Sounds like music. And we're just trying to align this, matching this. And I'm pretty simple with modeling and just trying to match it, moving them in the right position. Sometimes I work with grids when it's really necessary, but for this kind of work, it's not important. So I like to use the same material than the other beams, but we need to first check the scaling and then in map, UV editing. And when you start, it takes some time because you have to do this for every single part. But as soon as you have some parts, the only thing you need to do is I'm just trying to find a way to match this. This sounds good. Not sounds good. This looks good. But yeah, this is pretty fine. I'm continuing by duplicating it. So the only thing we need to do now is not making a new UV map. It's just moving them downwards. So you have a different texture. Shift D, and here we go. Let's move them to the other side. I mean, you can even use this part. It's not that complicated, but it has these nice little scratches. I really like it. All right, let's continue. Shift D, rotate it, trying to match this. It's a little different. Doesn't mean it's worse. Yeah. Okay. So this is a bit taller. So what we do is set as Y. Okay. And Shift D. And match this with this beam. GY. And rotate it like this. Try to align it as good as you can. Okay, almost. Looks good. A little different. Let's go back to the other side. Here we take a look. We're almost finished. There is actually a pod at the bottom I haven't shown you yet. Also not on the reference images, so let's jump there. I mean, I can just model this, but it's better when you just see it. It's this part. It's like it's standing on this. It's going a little bit upwards. I'm not cutting the hole in. You can just imagine it's there. Very simple. Go to the modeling tab. I'm switching between these tabs. Not always the best. One of the things I don't like between doing that is that Screencast is taking a nap. It's just turning off. And a lot of people complained about this, and they're absolutely right. But imagine you're making a tutorial, just switching between these tabs, and then it simply just turns off. And I mean, that's not good. Whoops. Okay, how are we going to measure this? Well, I'm trying to align it. That's the first thing we do. As good as we can. And I think this is good. By the way, this one goes more to the rear. It's a little bit annoying. So we're aligning this right here. Selecting these, GY. Okay. Adding an edge line. Like so. Press 3 to go to face selection mode. And we're selecting this part. And we just boost this to the top. So this kind of works. Rotation and scale. And of course, the blue door material. And we're selecting everything, pressing U. Cube projection. Talking and talking. All right. This is fine. And yes, you can add a bevel. Generate bevel. Let's say 0.05. 0.005. It's actually not it's really, really small. What is it? 0.001? It's all extra time. Okay, 0.001. Don't go for 2 segments. 1 is more than enough. All right. What you can do if they all have the right measurements. Same for that one, just checking, yeah. You can simply select everything. And then shift left click, Control L, and copy the modifier. And this way, it has this little small bevel. So you maybe wonder, why should I add a bevel? This has everything to do with the lighting in a 3D space. When you have this slightly bevel, the light will bounce and it will reflect some light. This creates depth. It's very important. Doing this a lot. So now we have all these bevels. We have to apply them all at once. Oh, okay. And there is, you can convert to mesh. If we select everything, you go to Object, Convert to Mesh. And now all these objects should not have any modifier applied. Okay. And that means we can make one single mesh. Control J. Origin to geometry. Right. So one more thing to do for this part. We're rotating this. And we're putting this in position. Yes. Okay. And we're doing it again. Shift D. Rotating it. Holding Control, so we're snapping, so we're 100% sure it's snapping 180 degrees, and then we're simply moving this to the right. Sometimes I'm making a mirror modifier, but I mean, that's like a lot of work for something that can be done so easily. And just checking if everything goes right. Yes. Okay. And you're probably wondering what I'm doing right now. I'm selecting these. And I just want to move them a little bit so they don't look the same. Just a bit more. Okay. Fine. You can still see the duplication, but I will fix that in a second. All right. So it's time for the next part. All right, now it's time to focus on the middle beam of this shelf. So I like to switch back to the modeling tab. So just like this, we go to this image, the detail image, and it shows this image in the center. It's when it's cut in half is what you see, and we need this to model. So first, I like to revive my screencast. It's dying. And we start with the cube. Add, mesh, and cube. We drag and drop by G control. I like to snap this and scale this. So we have 2 by 2 blender grids. That's fine. So I like to make this one smaller. Go to the vertice selection mode, select the bottom part and just bring that right there and to the right. So the origin is right there. This is really important and we'll show you in a second why. We're going to add a mirror, generate mirror modifier. Yeah, starting with a Z. Oh, it's doing both. Oh, that's fine. You don't have to add 2. That's great. So, not to confuse you, 1, 2 to the right, 1 over here, like so, and we're extruding this 1, 2. All right. So we have this shape. It's not finished, but now we can measure this with the model. We're making this smaller, aligning this somewhere in the center. We're selecting it. Okay, I couldn't go to the edit mode, but now I can. And now we have to find the right balance. I'm not seeing my keyboard when making tutorials, and sometimes I'm pushing the wrong button and trying to align this. Okay, look at that. It's not bad. So, because it's finished, I like to apply this. And because we use this mirror, it now has its faces and in the middle is duplicated. Not good as Y, just a little bit of thickness, rotation and scale. So what I like to do with this beam is rotate this to the right, to the left, sorry, and to the right in the snapping mode. Okay. And let's move it over here and trying to align this to me, like we have to find the measurements. So we're doing that. And that's good. As X. And we're just trying to make this looks good. Okay. Don't need to be perfect because we have to make these left and right parts. The details will show you it in the reference how that looks. Control A, rotation and scale, and of course it needs to have material. And we're doing the cube projection map, UV editing. We're not going to spend a lot of time. It's purely about the modeling process and that we have something on it. But we are going to change the color there as soon as this part is finished. Trying to find position for now. That's good. So what's next? So what's next is the part that connects this middle beam with the other one. So I'd like to show you how that piece or that part looks like. So we go to my reference and there is this one image that I captured it because as soon as I saw this part, I thought, that's kind of challenging. But of course, we just have to make it. So how that works is this part contains all kinds of views, how that looks. So we have to toggle between all of them so we can model it. And we're starting with this one. So this time we're not working on the blender grids. We're simply adding a cube and aligning this. Don't bother on the thickness. Important is that we're trying to align this. So not this extra piece. So for now, it's just trying to push this out of the reference. because we will find the thickness in other views. For this view, it's important that we capture these two parts. That's it for this reference. Okay, so now I like to just rotate this, holding Control, like so, and just do this again, and we're putting it right there. Sorry. So this looks okay, because we can now select this part. Just have to push this out, the reference, and we extrude it till this point. And this looks a little bit hard or complicated, because it's like, what are we doing right here? It's really hard to see. We need the following image to find what we're doing. So a lot of talking. I like to rotate this one. And again, what do we have right now? This is exactly the view I was looking for. Aligning this like so. We have this tall piece and the side piece, and I like to start with extruding. Okay, so how are we going to approach this? How can we do this in the most simple way and effective? What I like to do is check my scaling. That's right. Starting with edge lines. Control R, 1 by default. Scroll the mouse wheel, you get 3. Left click, S, Z, and you're dragging these out. Okay, so try to find something that fits. So this one is lining with that one, and that one on top as well. So far so good, but it's not perfect. So press 2. We have to select them, because 2, and then select these like this. Just take a look if everything is selected well. Press Ctrl B and try to align it. And that looks good to me. That's fine. So now we have to jump to the next part. So that is extruding it. So selecting these faces, good, and extruding it one time and another time, like so. That's for now enough. So I like to jump to the next one, and what I like to do is go to rotate it to the right and to the and 180 degrees. So it looks like this, you can see, and we're matching this with a reference. Yes, so now we select these parts, and I feel they need to be, they're already pretty thick. Y, S, Y, a little bit. I mean, it's a detail. It's not really necessary, but I mean, trying to match it. Extrude it, and extrude it one more time in this position. So these hooks will fall into the main beam. We have to select these 2, 3, not 2, and extrude this to the right. Okay, not too much. So this is where you end up. I mean, it's not complicated, but you need to know how to do it. It can take some time. So rotation and scale, that's important. And if we look at it, it looks so sharp. So for this model, add a bevel. So way too extreme. So something like 0.05, 0.01. Looks much better. You can go to shading and click harden normals. Then we can make it lower. I mean, or add 2. Something where you're happy with. Okay, so not going to make this way too complicated. And I think I want to make these a bit thicker. That's too much. Okay, we're moving on. So this part needs a material as well. Same one as always, shading, now UV editing, select everything. Cube projection, rotate it. And aligning this like so. Yeah, this is good. Let's take a look. nice and shine. And now it's time to merge this with the other beam. So let's make a duplication. If for some reason something went wrong, we always have this duplication. So turning this to the right, and like so. And now we have to make it smaller. So it will fit 3 of these holes. And I can already tell you, we have to do some manually alignment. So let's try to make the first one fit. The middle one. Okay. Press point. Let's bring this piece close to the shelf. Like so. Okay, so now we have to align it. So we are selecting the bottom part. Move this up. And the top part, we're moving this down. Okay, so maybe the bevel needs to be a bit more intense. And because we moved these vertices, the UV map is changed. Well, at first sight, it doesn't really look problematic, but if you really want to be sure it looks good, you just make a new cube projection and you're aligning this. We had to do this in the end of the modeling part, but yeah, I mean, it's what it is. Oh, it has wrong scaling. Look at that. Ooh, that wasn't good. And this has effect on the bevel as well. Let's do this again. Cube projection. I mean, this is part of the modeling process. It can happen, and if you can see it happens to me, you can just try to avoid it happens to you. So I want this piece to be on the left side as well. I'm not doing the duplication. For this, I like to use a mirror. Exactly. So I apply the mirror. Apply. I simply select it right now. And I'm moving this to the left. Just like this. So because they are exactly the same, these beams, it will fit. Yeah, I'm just checking. So now we have this main beam. And what I'd like to do is try to measure this as good as we can. GY. Maybe we should do this in the solid mode. Okay. Some little challenges to scale. Okay. A bit more to the top. And we have to check the other side. Merge this a bit better. And we check the other side one more time. If it's not floating, no. In fact, it looks really good to me. Okay. So to finalize this side beams, I like to, and this is like the final moment you can do this. If you want to change the bevel, it's time to do it right now. Otherwise, you click apply. And shift left click on the beam, Control J, and scaling is right. Okay, so this shelf looks very blue. I like to add some color variation. So what I like to do is go to the Material tab, make this material unique, go to the Shading tab, and I like to select an orange texture. So these textures all come in a pack, so you can use it. So just changing this. And I mean, now there's some color variations. It doesn't look one blue mesh. So you can see this part is different than that one. Okay, so we're going to use a mirror modifier again. Generate mirror. Why? Let's say it's that one. GY, exactly. It's inside. Let's apply this a little bit more. Okay, and then we move this one back. GY. Oh, it's sometimes very we have the workbench, and I really like that one because you have control on how your mesh is looking. Okay, let's just simply apply this one. And we're selecting this beam, and we're moving this to the other side. Okay, just move the reference more to the right so we have some space. All right, we're so close. And also important, just move this part to the other side. Just a little bit different so they, ooh, that looks not, oh, huh. Nope. Okay, so they look different. Great. Okay, just doing some extra checks. We're making a duplication again. Okay. For some reason, this one was not matching. And I think it's because I was doing this in the object mode. So let's bring this back. Mistakes are made, just don't make too many of them. That's a lesson that can be learned from this. Okay, so duplicate. Align them with the holes and just pick a different texture. Just move them a little bit. That's more than enough. Shift D. Okay. And a little bit different here as well. Okay, so you don't see the repetition. And this is how a shelf looks like. So, in fact, we're done with this tutorial, but I like to push this a little bit forward with making a small scene. So, let's do it. So the first thing we do is select all the objects we don't need and we delete it. Then I like to get rid of all the modifiers that are applied on the shelf. We go to convert and to mesh, and now we can start building the scene. We're adding a plane and we have to make it a little bit bigger. I like to use a value of 30 on the x-axis and 15 on the y-axis. So this will work as the ground plane. Then we align the shelf on the plane, and then we can start building the wall. We select the vertices and drag them on top, use a value of 6 meters, and we also make a little roof. Next, we align the shelf close to the wall, and I like to add a little bit of space between it, and we're putting it on the left, and now it has the right position. So next up, we're going to put some materials on the mesh. So I'm using the C3D add-on. It has some preset materials, and I like to demonstrate how that works. So you select in the faces and you apply the material, and then you have your presets. Of course, you can also tweak them in the shader editor. It's pretty straightforward. You go to the shading. For example, if you want to get rid of the water puddles, you just remove them, and then you can scale your UV map so you have the right balance. But for this tutorial, I like to use the assets library. So that's just the plain material. We drag and drop this on the mesh, and you can also just use the textures I provide in this tutorial. So as soon as they are applied, we're going to add some edge lines because I want to add an extra material for like the forklift that can drive on this ground. I like to add this texture, and we have to align this with the UVs. And as soon as it's ready, we also align the other texture. It has some striping, so it needs to match well. I like to rotate the roof UVs because we later add some beams, and therefore we have to fix that. All right, now it's time to fill this shelf with some pallets. In the assets library, I also have all my props. So I'm starting with the pallets, and then we have boxes. So the only thing I do is just drag and drop them. It's pretty easy, and you can also rotate them so they always have like this unique look. I duplicate these pallets and moving them on top. And I'm using some of the blue cans. Works pretty much the same. You just drag and drop them on the pallet, and then it's done. We're making another duplication. We're rotating these pallets to just have a different look. Otherwise it looks duplicated. And then we start with adding some barrels. There's a collection of 4 barrels in this pack that works nice. And the top is finished by adding some more boxes. If you don't like to do this all manually, there are also preset shelves. And you drag and drop them in this scene, and you rotate them, putting them close to the wall. And then you have a nice set of boxes and barrels packed in wrap. I like to make a duplication and putting them backwards. So what we can do next is grab the camera and we're putting this close to a shelf, and then we move this a little bit downwards. So we have to find a nice position, changing the focal length so we can see a bit more of the scene, put them closer to one of the shelves, and we're moving the main shelves a little bit more to the right so we have this in the viewport. Finalize these shelves, I'm also adding some safety ponds close to them. Alright, so we're taking a look at the lighting. It looks a little dark, so we're adding an HDRI, and that already looks a bit better, doing some denoising. But most important, we're adding some area lights. We have to align these with the roof, and making a duplication, doing this with Alt-D, and then we render and we have much more light. And I also like to increase the exposure so we have a brighter scene. Then we focus on the depth of field, we lower the f-stop so we have this nice blur on the shelf in the foreground. Well, we're not finishing yet. I like to add some beams, so we're making a rough sketch how we do that. We're using one of the beams of the shelf, we duplicate it, we're aligning this, then we're putting this on the roof. We also want to have a side beam, so we're duplicating it and aligning this close to the other one. So when this is done, we duplicate these beams. You want to put them between the shelves. We go back to the camera because now it's time for a camera track. So for this, I have to add a start and end position. And when I'm happy with the camera track, we have to make a factor of it, otherwise it's not animating smooth. So at this point, the scene is finished and we can finally render out the scene. So here is my final clip, and I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. Bye bye.